Are you looking to improve your golf game in 2025? Look no further than Golf by Gun. Golf by Gun specializes in individual lessons, small group sessions for 2 to 3 people, and even corporate events to enhance your networking skills on the green. In addition, couples golf lessons are a perfect way to bond with your partner while mastering your swings together. Here's an exclusive offer for our listeners. If you mention Chiefs Central, you will get $10 off your first lesson. That's right, $10 off your first lesson. Take your game to new heights and enjoy the sport you love even more. Follow Golf by Gun on Instagram and Facebook for tips and updates, or reach out via email at golfbygun@gmail.com. See you on the course.
I can't believe we haven't done an episode of this since last year.
That's crazy. It's hard to believe it's been a whole year. I mean, a lot has happened.
I know. It's insane, isn't it?
It is.
It's been a pretty crazy last couple of days.
It is. Happy 2025.
Happy 2025. Kind of crazy to think that it's already the new year, huh?
It is. Kind of bananas.
We were just talking last week about how time flew from Halloween to Christmas, and now, New Year's just passed, and it's like everything just feels like a blur.
It does. Why do I got something showing up on my shoulder on the screen here?
Oh, I think that's your green screen glitching a little bit from the way you're sitting, maybe.
Big time.
Maybe try angling the camera a little different. There you go.
That better?
Yeah, that's better.
Kind
of. Do you have a blanket? Do you have a blanket behind you?
I have a blanket behind me. Yeah.
I think that's what's showing up.
Let me get rid of that and see what it does. Oh, hey, no, I'm not even on there.
Serenity now.
It's because I have this little light here, I think.
Ah, that makes sense.
I'm trying to show up better, but at the same time, I don't want to look like Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, jeez. I think that works.
Does that work okay?
I think that works. As long as it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother me.
I mean, you can see my microphone going in and out whenever I lean forward too.
Oh yeah.
So that's also because I have the light right here. That's kind of my video light. So, but yeah, new year. Since our last episode last week, we played 4 games. Picked up 3 wins, 3-1 record the last 4. Pretty good week overall for these guys. Missing a couple of key guys for majority of those games, and I think that they kind of all played pretty well depth wise.
No, definitely. These young guys are like stepping up and looking good.
I really, I know I've said it before, but that Mathis Preston, Chase Harrington, and Coco Armstrong line, unbelievably electric.
All right. Well, I don't know him as Coco Armstrong.
Yeah, T-Bone. Sorry, T-Bone. I apologize.
That's all right.
I apologize. But how?
On our background here, we got to.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. That line. I mean, how electric has that line been?
They're fun to watch.
Moving their feet. The speed is insane. Their vision is insane. They connect so well out there together.
The hustle. I mean, all of it. Yeah.
I mean, Chase Harrington, I think, is probably the best playmaker on the team other than Berkeley Catton. I agree. I think that having him on a line with a guy like Preston, who has an uncanny ability to kind of sneak through the defense with his speed and get behind the defenseman, I think him and Harrington together really click well. And I think Coco Armstrong has done really well moving to the center spot on that line too.
Yeah. No, they've gelled quickly after being put together like that.
I'd like to see that line together the rest of the season, I
Me
think.
too.
I mean, it's really, really fun stuff. And I
Yeah.
think that, you have those young guys on that line. The oldest guy in that team is T-Bone at 18. I
Yeah.
mean,
Not crazy.
Chase is 17 and Preston's 16. And
Yeah.
I, I think that it's just such a really well put together line that you might as well just run them while they're hot. Don't
Yeah.
don't
Oh,
don't mess with that at all.
I agree.
But yeah, I just can't say enough about how well that line's played. And it started, I think the game after, maybe the game right before winter break, where when Catton went off to World Junior Camp, they
Hmm.
put that line together and they clicked from the start. But
Yeah.
they really picked it back up again, I thought, on New Year's Eve and down in Tri-Cities. From the get-go, I mean, the Chiefs were the better team that night. Tri-Cities looked really flat.
They did look.
And the Chiefs came out 5 minutes into the first period. Chase Harrington putting the puck in the back of the net on a little net front scramble and just kind of had it on his backhand with his back turned to the goalie and just threw it behind him and it ended up going in. So it's all started by Mathis Preston getting the puck into the zone with those guys doing their thing and continuing where they left off. And then Nathan Mays picked up an assist on that one too. But again, we're talking, it was all Chiefs in that game.
It was.
Chiefs, I mean, minus a couple of defensive breakdowns and stuff too. Dawson Cowan stood tall and backed him up, picked up his third shutout of the season, I should
Hmm.
say, which is league leading right now still. And just a really good way to end the year, I think.
Oh, big time, big time. And did you see last night? I mean, we talked about this going into the break about how Tri Cities was probably hoping that there wasn't a break coming up. Do you see they gave up 10 last night?
To Wenatchee.
Yes.
After Wenatchee just traded Kenta Isagai and Daniel Hauser too,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy. I mean, they got a pretty good haul for both of those players too. I think
They did.
Wenatchee is going to be another team to not really sleep on the next few
2 years down
seasons.
the road. Yeah. I think so.
And I mean, even their young guys are showing it right now too.
Yeah.
They have a lot of young guys that are gonna be good. They're already good, and they're just gonna
Yeah.
get better. I really am still unsure about that Lucas Sherbina trade. I almost wish we would have kept him because I really like the way that he plays.
Right. He would have fit with this team that we have now.
Yeah, he would have. He reminds me, he's just a quick guy, a speedy guy, kind of like him and Cohen Harris kind of have similar
Hmm.
vibes out there. I think that Sherbina would have fit in nicely, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I hope that Sherbina has a good career in Wenatchee or wherever he ends up. Uh, but yeah, going back to New Year's Eve, I think that once that first goal went in, they kind of brushed that Portland game from the couple nights before off their back because
Hmm.
that one was a little bit rough.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, losing the game to Prince George, and then I feel like ever since we lost that game at home, it kind of fell off a little bit. And then, you have to adjust midweek in between games and everything too with practice and everything. And there's been the illness going around the team
Right.
that's kind of hindered a couple of guys. I know that the game on the 27th at home here, we Redmond left in the third period because he was sick and didn't play the
Yeah.
next night. And then
Ekstrom
uh,
had been sick.
Ekstrom was pretty sick and he still played through it. And then obviously the last couple nights we didn't, or well, the Friday night or Saturday night game, we didn't have Braden Crampton, Shea Van Olm, or Cam Parr.
Yeah.
Van Olm and Crampton came back to play on Sunday. But yeah, just that nasty norovirus that's going around sounds
Yeah.
like that it got everybody sitting on the toilet all night.
Yeah. That can be fun.
No, and
And plus,
I
it probably doesn't look good on the ice.
no, it definitely doesn't. But it was good to see those guys get back into the lineup last night. I thought Shea Van Olm looked pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
he had been struggling a little bit since Catton went off to the World Juniors, missing his top line center. But
Hmm.
I think that, him sitting out a game, regardless of if it was, due to illness or whatever, but maybe sitting out a game kind of reset him a little bit
Hmm.
and kind of got him ready to go. And because he came out with a fire on Sunday night, and he picked up a goal and an assist and looked really, really good out there into the first star too. So, yeah, you gotta keep these. Glad they have a week off because we have a big road trip coming up here, starting Friday in Everett.
No, I agree. It's nice to have a week to heal and either let the sickness run through the whole team or everybody get rid of it that's got it, or either or.
Yeah, you gotta hope that that it's kind of over with now, and then everybody's healthy and ready to practice during the week before they head off to Everett this weekend. But should be getting Berkeley Catton back on Friday too, and I think that'll just boost our offensive firepower a little bit more too. I'm sure that Catton will go back on the top line with Van Olm, and I'm trying to think of maybe I don't think they should put Preston up there. I think they got to keep that Harrington line together. So who's gonna right wing on that top line?
I don't know.
Maybe Sarkinov again, put him back up there.
But that's a guy that's looked very, very well. He looked good before the break, but he's looked good since he came back from World Juniors too.
Yeah, he had a good tournament. Kazakhstan's obviously not a very well-known hockey country.
No,
and they had maybe a two or three players that were known. I mean, I think Sarky was the only CHL player on that team. They have their goaltender was the Ottawa Senators draft pick. They're playing in Ottawa. He plays in the BCHL, or he did play in the BCHL. He might be in the AHL this year. I'm not sure, but he stood on his head. I mean, he kept them in a lot of the games for a long time, and Sarky, missing that first game and then missing that game after he got that suspension for the questionable cross check or whatever. IAHF rules are terrible.
Yes, they are.
The games that he did play, he was a physical presence out there, and he put the fear in some of the guys on the other teams.
Oh, yeah.
And he buried that one goal from the left or the right side, just sniped it far side. That was a great shot. And I think that, those two games this weekend, he's looked pretty energized and fired up to be back in Spokane too. So I think that might be a guy that you could throw up there with Catton and Ulmer again. You might as well. They played together before everybody went off to World Juniors. So, yeah, I guess we'll go back and talk a little bit about the Portland game on Thursday, which is a little bit weird. Man,
a rare Thursday game.
When was the last time we played a Thursday game? I don't even know if we ever have, man.
It's been a couple of years. I feel like we have before, but I might be thinking the Tuesday games, which are more of an occurrence too. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, they came out looking pretty flat. It was scoreless after the first period, but then Portland kind of took over in the second. Portland did pretty much dominate the offensive game in the first period. Scored aside, they outshot us 16-7 in the first period. Dawson Cowan played great in the first period again too. Kind of kept Portland at bay, but second period that changed. Portland scored 5 minutes in. Cam Parr ties it up on the power play. I guess it wasn't on the power play. It must have just been after the power play expired. It wasn't officially a power play goal, but he tied it up on a rebound of a Papanicus shot from the point. And look, everything's looking pretty good there. And then a minute later, unfortunately, Portland comes down and scores. And then they picked up another one about 30 seconds later to take a 3-1 lead going into the second intermission. And then they just ended up kind of taking over from there. And it was all Portland. The Portland was gelling. They looked like the Portland old.
They did. They got better as the game went on for sure. And they looked good in the first two. And like you said, Cowan kept it scoreless, but Portland just started rolling. And like Portland teams we've seen in the past 10 years, once they get that confidence going, man, good luck slowing them down.
And the thing that I've noticed with Portland too is that it doesn't have to be veteran guys that are doing that. I mean, they have this Jordan Duguay. He scored his third or fourth career goals against us. Picked up 2 goals and an assist on a +3, and he played a great game.
I feel like it's just a culture with Portland. They all have it.
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking about leaving the game on Saturday night that Mike Johnson was behind the bench for Canada as an assistant coach.
But let's go back and let's talk about a little World Junior stuff here.
Yeah, I guess we should probably do that, huh?
Yeah. How about Team Canada?
I don't even know what to say about Canada, man. What that hasn't been said already. I felt so bad for Burke being on that team.
Yeah.
His first World Junior, and he gets put on a team that doesn't practice. because they need to rest. What is that all about?
That's what I want to talk about. What was that when the coach comes out afterwards and says that they didn't practice? Because they needed to rest.
There was a lot of controversy going into the tournament with the roster that Canada picked too. They left out a lot of guys, even guys from last year's roster that should have made the cut.
Do you know why they picked who they picked? I actually heard that today.
I heard something, but I don't know how accurate it was.
I heard it today, and then I heard the counter argument was Team USA doesn't do that, and like Finland, Sweden, and those guys don't do it either. And it was something that Canada did, and they should probably apologize for and say that they screwed up and they got it wrong and they won't do it next time, which they probably won't do it next time. But instead of taking, this is how I heard it explained today, instead of taking the top 15 players out available, they took players to fill positions instead.
Yeah.
To actually play, like they wanted a defenseman that can move the puck here, so that's who they took, or something like that. Instead of just taking the best available players and saying, look, this is what you're going to play. You might be a scorer on your team, but right now you're going to be fourth line right winger, and this is what the role you're going to play. That's how I heard it described today.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of these top guys that are their leading scorers on their junior teams or college teams or whatever. They're getting thrown into a role that they haven't played probably in 3 or 4 years. And you can't have that. And the thing that I think really plagued Canada is I felt like this roster, these guys don't all play together all the time. The thing with the USA hockey program is they play together through the national development team program from like the ages of like 12 until they're 19. These guys have played together for 7 or 8 years now, and they won back-to-back gold medals now with, I mean, I think they had like 12 returning players from last year's team on their team. And there's 3 or 4 guys that all play on Boston College. There's a guy from Denver who Denver's coach was also the head coach of Team USA. But the Boston College line, I mean, the top line, I can't remember who it was, Perel, Leonard, and whoever else, but they play together.
Teams do too. They play together growing up too.
Yeah, they play together all year round, and those guys play together on their college teams. And these Canadian kids don't do that. It's supposed, usually it's just all the top players from the CHL or NCAA. If there's a couple of guys here and there that go and play NCAA, but it's just goal scorers and good players all kind of being put together in one roster. And with Dave Cameron, if you don't practice, you're not going to build any sort of chemistry.
Not at all.
And so, these guys barely know each other, and you're thrown out there, you're going to play games like it's a rec league.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah. Good analogy. You're right.
It just doesn't make sense to me. And I told you from like their Canada's second game that this team's not going to do anything.
No, they're not. They were not gelling at all.
They looked great in that first game against Finland. And then and then they lost to Latvia. I mean, that's Latvia. Hats off to Latvia. Hats off to their goalie.
Yeah.
Latvia is a pretty up and coming country in the sport of hockey, I think, because, the last handful of years, they've really stepped up their game and brought in some talent that's actually, moved on to play professionally in North America.
Yeah.
So hats off to them, but Canada shouldn't be losing to Latvia.
Right.
Regardless of if it's in a shootout or not. That should have been a 10-0 blowout.
Yeah.
And it was a 3-2 Latvia win,
Yeah.
With the talent that was there. And we watched all of Canada's games during the tournament. How often do you hear Berkeley Catton's name being talked about?
Nonstop.
All the WHLers, I think the WHLers played a team game when they were out there together. I think the OHLers really kind of screwed everything up. And honestly, I think the top line, the Easton Cowan, there's a lot of things going around online about how they really made a mistake by putting him on that roster. And other guys from the OHL that kind of play their own individual games. You said it perfectly, that it was just 25 players playing in their own individual game.
Yep.
And I think that the only people that didn't do that was Gavin McKenna, Berkeley Catton, Caden Price, WHL guys, all the Western Canada guys, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that the WHL is the best overall league in the CHL, but I feel like this just kind of proves it.
Yeah.
You're frozen.
Yeah, I agree.
You're frozen. There we go. Now you're frozen again.
On that note, though, congratulations to Team USA.
Back-to-back gold medals for the first time ever, huh?
That's pretty awesome.
Good stuff. I was pretty stoked to watch that. Every medal game went into overtime.
Overtime, yeah.
I was watching that Finland US overtime at the Chiefs game last night. Pretty hype, pretty good stuff. What a great pass from Buyam back there to hit. I can't remember the kid's name now, Singa or Tinga or whatever. I don't remember, but yeah, what a pass and what a goal, and congrats to Team USA and their back-to-back gold medals. That's
Agreed.
Awesome. That's awesome. And hats off to Finland too. Finland played a great tournament.
They look good every game we saw them play too. Yeah.
I thought that Finland was kind of going to pull away with that gold medal too. Once they were up 3-1 late in the second period, US came back and tied it. But overall, I'd say it was a pretty fun World Juniors.
Oh, me too.
Controversy with Canada as there usually is for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I think all teams kind of showed up. I thought Slovakia was good. I thought even, the countries that don't necessarily always compete hard and everything too. Or I shouldn't say compete hard, because I feel like the countries that aren't as, good with the game of hockey, they are the most competitive teams. Latvia, for example, is a perfect example of that. Germany, I thought, played really well.
Germany did look.
It's a great way to grow the game, and I think the game is growing. Worldwide. So
it's funny. I heard a little thing on the radio today. It was mainly referring to women's international hockey too, but it relates to men's hockey too. Not too many years ago, both in men and women's, Team USA and Team Canada were the teams to beat, and then nobody else really could compete too much. And the talk today was be careful what you ask for, and saying that you have too easy of a time and you don't have any competition, because these other countries now they provide very, very good competition.
Absolutely. And I also want to add in another country that's always produced pretty solid NHL talent, but has never really competed too well internationally, barring a year or two here and there in the Olympics or World Juniors or whatever. Czechia has medaled in 3 straight World Juniors. Czechia has really kind of turned it on with their international game in recent years too. That Chalet from their captain from Czechia, he's a Seattle Kraken pick. He had a hell of a tournament and led them to their bronze medal. They always seem to have just outstanding goaltending too. Parikh and Lucas Mateka from Tri-City was their goalie last year, and I think that Czechia is another team that's kind of you're gonna have to watch out for.
Yeah, well, they're up and coming as well.
Yeah, so congrats to them too. Just a fun tournament to watch. Always one of my favorite times of the year, just because of the World Junior tournament. I love that tournament. I mean, I'm working during the day when these games are being played. I'm still listening, or have my phone on me and paying attention. So, get that. Berkeley Catton obviously getting eliminated early. He gets a chance to go home to Saskatoon for a couple of days and get a short Christmas break with his family, because he didn't technically get to go home for Christmas because he was in Ottawa. But so he missed the last 2 games in Kamloops. But we had Sarkey back though, so that was good. It was good to see Sarkey, and he looked good. And I think the Chiefs are just kind of anxiously awaiting Catton's return now too. And I think that the fans are really anxiously awaiting his return too, waiting to see kind of how he's going to play the rest of the year. I really, really think that, regardless of how Canada played in the World Juniors, it's really going to benefit Catton getting that experience.
Me too.
And playing in front of 20,000 people has got to be exhilarating too.
No, how could it not be?
But we were without Catton for the games this weekend. Friday night, back-to-back, or Saturday night. I'm sorry. I'm not used to Saturday, Sunday home games.
That's an odd combo.
I'm used to saying Friday, Saturday. Saturday night against Kamloops Blazers, first of the back-to-back against Kamloops. I felt like overall, Chiefs pretty much dominated play.
They did, but it was a good game.
Logan Edmonstone, the backup goalie for Kamloops, played a hell of a game and
Yes, he
kind of
did.
and kept it. It should have been, quite frankly, it should have been an 8-2 final.
Right.
But he stood on his head and played great. And it's something that I told you and I've told Brandon and TC and the boys that Kamloops is another one of those teams like Prince George and Everett and Tri-Cities that always seem to produce just
Goalies,
stud goalies.
they do.
I mean, Kamloops has had like Dylan Ferguson, Dylan Ernst, Edmund Stone. I mean, I could go on. They've had a number of goalies over the years that have just stood on their head. Chiefs ended up being able to get one past him early in the first period on Saturday on the power play. That's one thing that I think hasn't really struggled as of lately, even without Berkeley, is our power play is still pretty consistent.
No, I think Harrington quarterbacks it pretty well as far as distributing the puck around and moving around, kind of taking captain spot in that regard, even though sometimes he's on that top line too on the power play. But I noticed the big difference for me on Saturday. Not that, like you said, they haven't dropped off or anything, but nice to see Shetler out there quarterbacking it at the point.
And he looked really good doing
it
too.
He did look good.
And I was kind of analyzing him on that power play unit too, just him alone. Like, it's something that you were talking about last week, the way that he navigates the blue line when he's got the puck up there, in the umbrella formation on the power play. I mean, it's just he looks so confident out there, and it's something that I don't see in our other defensemen on the power play.
No. They almost look a little, I don't want to say panicky, but for lack of a better term, panicky with the puck out there, like being afraid to do something wrong to a certain degree from a fan's view standpoint is kind of what it looks like versus, no, Shetler just feels very comfortable. It's just like, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here. And he moves to get that passing lane open. So there is no concern about it.
And that's one thing that I really noticed on Saturday, with Crampton was out of the lineup, so Shetler was quarterbacking that top power play unit. Him at the top, Harrington over here. You had Ekstrom on this side. I mean, just a really solid overall. Those guys were all moving their feet and finding the open ice and finding that open shot lane. And then that first power play right there, Chase Harrington taking the puck from behind the goal line all the way around the blue line, all the way to the other side. Got the defenders moving, found that open lane, that perfect wide open lane, kind of similar to that Shetler and Cohen Harris goal from a couple of weeks back. Just found that perfect angle and hit Poppy right there in the back door, and Chiefs pick up a 1-0 lead, and then unfortunately give up a late goal in the period. Kind of a fluky little shot from the point that Cowan was screened by our own defenseman and couldn't see it, but it just kind of a simple shot from the point, because actually the Kamloops player's first career goal. Thought that was an interesting way to get your first goal. But then obviously, having a really strong period and then going into the intermission tied with a late goal like that is definitely kind of a going to be a gut check for you guys, and got to kind of wake up a little bit. But Chiefs outshot Kamloops 17-10 in the first period.
Yeah, they put up a lot of shots.
Kamloops came out again 2 minutes into the second period and scored another goal too, and ended up going up 2-1. Thankfully, late in the second period, we get Coco Armstrong finally getting the monkey off his back and getting his first goal of the season. Again, that line, that Coco Armstrong, Mathis Preston, Chase Harrington line, working it around the zone. Preston fired a shot, just an absolute laser that hit off of the crossbar and picked the puck up back behind the net, and T-Bone was back there and banked it off of the goalie, and it just barely went across the goal line to tie the game up. And then I felt like, even though that we didn't score again until about halfway through the third period, I feel like that kind of re-energized our guys after giving up that second goal. Again, same guys on the ice. Nathan Mays, for a big defensive defenseman, he's got some good hands. And he's got a pretty good shot too. I like seeing his little kind of forehand to backhand move that he could pull from the blue line. Just found a little bit of open ice and just simple wrister that ended up beating Edmonstone on the blocker side. And that ended up being the eventual game-winning goal, assisted by Mathis Preston and Chase Harrington. Those guys just working it out there. Really good game from that line. I mean, I think that, the 3 stars of the game, first star is Nathan Mays, game winner. Mathis Preston had 2 assists, and Coco with a goal. But I think you got to throw Chase Harrington in there too, because I think he was just as valuable as any of those other guys that were out there that night.
I agree.
He played a hell of a game, and I really hope that he can continue to play at that pace because all he's doing is boosting his draft stock.
Yeah, exactly. But, how about killing off the extra attacker for the last 2 minutes
of that game? Those guys were so gassed, man.
They were.
I mean, that line was out there for over 2 minutes, and they were just blocking shots left and right. Just couldn't clear the puck. But you know what? They, for being as shorthanded as we were and missing, 2 of our 20s and a lot of our veteran guys, I felt like we did a really good job overall in that game against a solid Kamloops team. They got good coaching. Sean Clouston, Don Hayes, their assistant coach. I felt like that overall we competed really hard, and that ended up giving us the 3-2 win, even though we pretty much doubled their shots on goal, 43-24, 1 for 3 on the power play. Pretty good stuff from those guys. What was your overall thoughts of that game specifically?
It was a good game. It was entertaining. There was no point in that game where you thought one team was going to take it and run. You just felt like it was going to be close and come down to, like it did the last couple of minutes, by able to kill it off with the extra attacker that Kamloops had. It was a very entertaining game.
I'm loving seeing, this secondary scoring that we've been getting with Catton out of the lineup. I really like seeing fourth line guys. I thought Brody Gillespie has had a really, really good stretch here. We saw Saturday, Sunday, Matt Edwards in the lineup. That fourth line played really, really well. It was all weekend. It was Dane Pyatt, Brody Gillespie, Matt Edwards. Just a hustle line, checking line. Those guys were out there throwing the body left and right. Sunday, that line had a line brawl. It was good to see Dane Pyatt getting into the action there. He had a pretty good weekend too. He had a couple of breakaway chances. He did. And he looked good again on Sunday as well, and then nice to see him kind of actually asking a guy to drop the gloves in the middle of that too. He loves seeing that kind of stuff from your young guys, trying to get the crowd fired up, trying to get the boys fired up. And
we talked about Edwards in the game on Saturday night too, that, maybe whether he has found it or the coaches have talked to him about it and they've all found it together, he seems to have found a role now where he's been playing these games consistently too, knowing he can still be physical, but not go out there and look for any trouble per se, and just kind of be a protector out there. But he's been very smart with the puck too. I just don't think he was given that opportunity early in the year when he was playing. There was an expectation maybe for us as fans that he was going to be a big physical guy and just be that too. But the guy's a smart hockey player. You don't stick around in the league as long as he has, and not be smart too. And he's been able to showcase that. But I feel like he's just kind of found his niche. Whether that was discovered by him or the coaching staff or all the above, I don't know. But I don't even want to say it's like comfortable out there, because I feel like he's always felt like he's comfortable. He just seems to be playing a role now that is working for him.
I think it's partially just the fact that he's getting consistent playing time again. I'm sure that, sitting out the 10 games in a row that he sat out or whatever it was, kind of woke him up a little bit and, showed him that he needs to kind of step his physical game up and just his hustle game a little bit more if he wants to stay in the lineup. And I think that he's done a pretty good job of that. He threw the body a lot this weekend. And I honestly, even last night, I feel like he was one of the, Chiefs played a great overall game, and I thought everybody contributed, but I thought Matt Edwards stood out from most of the other guys with just his physicality, getting involved, getting the puck deep, doing all the good things out there. And he's doing what a fourth liner needs to do. He knows his role on the team. And I think that, again, like you said, he's more comfortable out there now, and getting consistent playing time is helping with that.
Yeah.
So I think that if you can keep a guy like that in the lineup, whether it's him or Campar does the same thing night in and night out too. I'd like to see one of those two guys at least stay in the lineup as much as possible, because I think that's really beneficial to the success of the team.
Yeah, I agree. We've mentioned that previously, physicality.
Yeah. So the Chiefs pick up their second straight win, no, they picked up their first win after the Portland game on Saturday against Kamloops. Picked up their second win on Sunday against the Blazers as well. Pretty good game, I thought. Overall, the The shot totals were a little bit closer. Dylan Ernst, their starter, played in net. Carter Essler played in net for Spokane, and I thought he had himself a great game. Made a couple of huge saves, and
Mm-hmm.
looked like the goalie of the future. He looked like that guy that we saw in that first game up in Prince George that he
Yeah.
played this year. I thought that he really, really stood out for. I thought that was his best game of the season overall. He looked confident out there. He didn't look nervous. He's just a calm, and I think that's what we've talked about, with Boiler and just kind of everybody sitting around us at games. It's like having Dawson as a guy to look up to.
Yeah.
It's got to be huge because Cowan is he's a quiet guy, but he's a calm guy and he knows that he's good and he knows his role. And I think he's a great mentor for Essler in all honesty.
No, I agree.
But he looked really good. This time, all Chiefs first in the first half of the game. Coco Armstrong,
What a play.
what a goal! Just
What a
needed to
shorty.
get just needed to get that monkey off his back the night before.
Yeah.
Picks the puck shorthanded in the first period and just snipes it bar down on Dylan Ernst. I was looking the other way. I didn't even see it because I figured we were just dumping the puck and going for a change. So I was like, I don't remember what I was doing, but I wasn't paying attention. And then I heard the crowd start going crazy, and I look over and I hear the bar down. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. But it's good to see him scoring back-to-back games. And I think that if they're going to keep that line with him, Preston, and Harrington together, if T-Bone starts scoring at a consistent rate, watch out.
Yeah.
Because
I
that
agree.
line, it could be even more deadly than it already is.
I agree.
Hayden Papanik is staying strong too, picking up his 11th of the year on the power play once again, assisted by Sarkey and Mathis Preston. And then a couple minutes later, Smith Redmond picking up his 10th of the year, assisted by Sage and Will McIsaac. I feel like Redmond had a pretty good game, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Sam Oremba had a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask your opinion on this because I've talked to some other fans and everything too, and gotten their opinion on it. I think that Brad Lauer's done a really good job of kind of mixing up the lines when they got gone stale throughout the
Mm-hmm.
season. Um, I think that they need to mix up that second line with Ekstrom, Redmond, and Oremba. I think that I liked it at first, but I think that Ekstrom fits on a more of a speedy line. Like, I if they're looking to get a little bit extra points from the Harrington Preston line, I think they should maybe put Rass on that line,
Mm-hmm.
centering that line with, a couple of speedy, smart, skilled guys like Harrington and Ekstrom and Preston. I think that they could really put the puck in the back of the net at an alarming rate.
Oh,
If
I
you
do.
put them together with Harrington's playmaking ability, I think Rass needs a playmaker on his line like that. And I not that Oremba and Redmond aren't good playmakers in it by any sense of the word, but I think that having a guy like Harrington, who is granted probably our second best playmaker on the team behind Berkeley, is a guy that could feed Ekstrom on that left side cause I mean, his Ekstrom's shot is insane. We
Yes.
see the power on his shot and how quick it comes off his stick all the time. I
Yeah.
feel like on his line, he doesn't get a chance to do that as much. I feel like it's a little bit more of a grindy line.
Yes. I was just going to say Redmond and Oremba are more of a grinders.
And I think that they need to at least move Rass off that line, even if it's just temporary. Maybe honestly, even throw him back up on the top line with Burke and Van Olm
I
for
was
a
going to
couple
say
of
that.
games. Because I feel like he had a little bit more success doing that. I feel like he's just trying to play a little bit more of a defensive game on this line with these guys because they're not as highly skilled at
Right.
putting the puck on the teammates' sticks. I think that maybe they should switch that up. What do you think about that?
No, I like that. Put Sarkey on. Swap him and Sarkey out.
Yeah, yeah. I why not give
Sarkey
it a go,
better with Oremba and Redmond, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Sarkinov is a guy that you could put on any line and he'll succeed, and we've seen
Exactly.
that throughout the season. But yeah, overall, I think that that's a line that's getting a little bit stale and just kind of got to switch things up a bit before these guys kind of get even more frustrated. And
Yeah.
Oremba's been putting the puck in the back of the net at a pretty solid rate.
Yeah.
Redmond buried another one. Ekstrom, I feel like is, he's good at, getting himself free, but I think if he had a playmaker that can get the puck into the zone and find him when he's open,
Me
I
too.
think that Rask could put up 30 this season.
I think you're onto something.
So I guess we'll have to obviously wait and see. We're not the coach, so we don't get to decide that, unfortunately. But
yeah, right.
But yeah, Shea Van Olm coming back from his illness and picking up a goal on the wraparound and ended up getting an assist on the goal later in the third period. Owen Shetler picking up a goal here. Nice little shot from the point. Just found his way through traffic and picked up his 5th goal of the season. Again, same thing, moving his feet vertically at the blue line and just found that open lane and fired it in. Love to see that.
Yeah.
That's the perfect thing that you need on that top unit power play quarterbacking. So it was good to see that. Chiefs picked up a 5-2 win for their 2nd straight win against the Kamloops Blazers. 1 for 2 on the power play. Again, I think as of right now, we're still the top power play in the league, percentage wise. Even without, the guys that we were missing the last couple of weeks and the young talent that we got. I think Papanicus has been really good on the power play this year. I think Chase Harrington's been really good in the power play this year. One thing that I do want to say is I think Mathis Preston is an unbelievable hockey player and has the ability to do a lot of things that the other guys can't. And he's got a hell of a shot. I feel like he's been shooting it right into the crest on the jersey lately. Just shooting it right into goalies. I feel like he needs to be able to start finding those corners to pick. Because I feel like if he picked corners, he'd have 20 goals this year already.
Yeah. But then as fans, then we turn around next week and say, God, can they just hit the net? Because they would be going a little bit wide too. So.
I know. So I mean, I understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
But maybe at least if you're going to shoot it straight at him, shoot it a little bit lower off the pad so it bounces out. But yeah, that's pretty much my recap from last night. One thing I do want to mention about the games this weekend, hate harping on it. I don't like being that guy, but the officiating was not good, man. We had the same officials Sunday night that we had Saturday night.
Come on.
And, the Chiefs took a couple of unnecessary penalties, but some of them were very, very chintzy calls. Taking one guy out of a post whistle scrum as opposed to just taking a guy from each team and evening it up and just kind of sending a message. They're just taking one guy, and it typically had to be a guy from Spokane. Power plays were 6-2 in favor of Kamloops. Kamloops went 2 for 6 on the power play, but the Chiefs were 50% at 1 for 2. So good to see our power play still able to put the puck in the back of the net without Catton on our team right now. But that's all I got recap wise.
Nice.
Do you got any overall thoughts on the last 3 or 4 games here? Not since our last show.
I like where things are trending. Just as a team, I like the way they're going. Yeah, I think we're headed for another nice little, I won't say like consecutive wins, but we're just headed on a nice little streak again. I feel like.
I think all Chiefs fans are kind of just sitting around waiting to see if Matt Barnes is going to do anything at the trade deadline coming up in a couple of days.
A few more days to find out.
A lot of the big names that were projected to be traded are already traded or in the process of being traded. We were talking last week about maybe getting a Sawyer Minio from Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't end up happening. Sawyer Minio ended up being traded to the Calgary Hitmen, Calgary is just stacking their roster up right now.
They are.
Sawyer Minio traded to the Hitmen in exchange for Sawyer Mays, which happens to be the brother of Nathan Mays, who's now in Seattle. Lyndon Beret, a first-round pick in 25, first-round pick in 26, and a fourth-round pick in each of those years as well. So pretty big haul going back to Seattle for Sawyer Minio. So 2 first-rounders and 2 fourth-rounders, including a couple of players, an 06 D-man and an 07 forward. So that's a pretty big trade right there.
Yeah.
And that kind of set the tone, I feel like, for kind of the other teams to make their pushes. There's been a couple of smaller trades here and there Obviously, Daniel Hauser from Wenatchee went off to, I think he's in Calgary as well. And then Kenta Isagai going to Victoria. Victoria is really stacking their roster up right now, too.
Yeah.
I think Victoria is a team that you got to look out for. And then today, a couple of huge trades today. And just in the last 2 hours or so. Let me find it here. Tanner Mollendijk from the Saskatoon Blades, along with another '05 forward, traded to Medicine Hat in exchange for 2 players, 1 first-round pick in 25, a second-round pick in 25, third in 26, fourth in 26, and a fifth in 28.
That's crazy.
Tanner Mollendijk and Misha Volotovsky. So big trade right there. And then just as we were about to start recording the episode, another huge trade came through that I kind of expected was coming. Kind of thought maybe the Chiefs would take a look at him. Him being actually a friend of Catton. They were growing up in Saskatoon together.
Oh, really?
They've been friends for a long time. They are also both Seattle Kraken prospects. But Caden Price from the Kelowna Rockets, who also just got back from the World Juniors, is off to Medicine Hat. I'm not sure if the trade is official yet. John Keane on Twitter posted a little bit ago that he's going to Lethbridge, and the deal is said to be 7 pieces, players going both ways. So we're going to have to wait and see what the official trade is on that. But, you know, I don't know who – there's not any big names left, really, defense-wise. And I don't think that – I think that Bardsley's doing the right thing by not selling all of your picks to get a guy like that caliber this season. I think that, again, we need to pick up a solid 18 or 19-year-old that's going to be here next year.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a big name. It just needs to be somebody to fit that role of what we need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we've talked about what we need.
Yes.
It's a puck moving defenseman that can clear the puck out of the zone in the defensive end and get the puck through on the power play from the point. So I don't know who else is out there. We have 3 days until the trade deadline. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of moves going on. A lot of movement in the Central. The Central teams have been stacking up with Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, and Calgary. But I don't know. There's got to be some names still out there. I'm sure Bardsley's doing some shopping and seeing what's out there. And I'm sure we'll see something from these guys in the next couple of days, whether it's, you know, a big name or a draft picks or whatever. But that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So I posted a thing today. I didn't ask for any questions necessarily. I just asked if the Chiefs fan group had any thoughts or comments on the last couple of games for us to read out. Got some pretty good responses. I posted it when I was in the car with you a couple hours ago, so we didn't have too much time to get a lot, but we actually got a fair amount. So I think we might be going with that format going forward, at least for now. Like getting some of the other fans' input. And I think at some point we're going to get some of the other fans on here to kind of voice their opinion and kind of shoot the shit with them about the team and everything too. So I think this is a good start going toward that. Great resilience from a team that is battling illness, kind of exactly what we were talking about. I mean, we have 3 or 4 guys out that have been battling it this weekend. And then, you know, the week prior had a couple of guys that were out or really feeling it out there, but still giving it all they got. I think that showed maturity in the lineup. And I think that's not something that they had even, you know, going back to last year.
Agreed.
So it's a huge step, good resilience. We haven't seen this resilience from a Chiefs team in a long time. So I again, like you said, on the way up.
Yep.
Our boy B, refs with the orange stripes suck.
Especially when you do back-to-back games.
Yeah, I can attest to that. It was pretty tough, pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Great effort by several of the younger players. They need to complete the transition to a disciplined playoff team, and they need to minimize the penalties that they're taking, improve the shot score percentage, and more effort during transitions. Perfectly said. Pretty much what we talked about, just worded a lot better because I just kind of shoot the shit off the top of my head. So
I know. And you were dropped as a kid.
Yeah, that's true. I was. You pushed me out of the back of the van. Huh?
Man, I know.
Hey, don't forget, I got you back years later when we were golfing at Esmeralda.
You did. Well, I've hit my head a few times too. So,
but yeah, well said. I think that again they minimize the penalties and kind of keep their emotions in check, and improving the shooting to scoring percentage. Perfectly said.
yep.
And then another one says, super happy that Coco got his first goal of the season. I see
Yes.
him putting in the pregame warmups, and then he followed it up with a goal the next night. I definitely see him maturing into a good player.
Yes.
Completely agreed. I mean, even last year, I thought that he
You
was one
saw
of the
that.
guys that really stood out to me, and I think that he's taken a huge step this year. I saw it in training camp this year,
Yep.
and it's carried over into the season. He
Oh
missed
yeah.
a month and a half of the season with his shoulder injury, and I think that since he came back from that, he's been on a mission to kind of
Seems
pick
like
up
it.
where he left off. So it's really good to see it. I'm glad that he's finally putting the puck in the back of the net. Responding comment to that is I would say that as well. He's well ahead of where I thought he'd be coming back from the injury. Um, I wish we'd had him from the get-go, but now that we have him, it'll be a nice addition. Completely
Yeah.
agreed.
Yep.
Nice seeing both goaltenders being able to play well, playing as a team with Catton being out for World Juniors. Good to see that we have other leaders in the locker room. Loving the
Mhm.
fourth line too, which helps with the other lines that can rest a little bit more. It's kind of again, Matt Edwards. I think he had a really good weekend, and I'd like to see more of that from him going forward too. And then the last one we got here is another thing that everybody's kind of been talking about. That Coco Harrington Preston line is electric. They were great in Tri-City and followed it up this weekend. Moved the puck well and takes the pressure off of the first line.
Big time.
I think if you put Ulmer and Catton up on that top line and you have that line as kind of your second line, I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off of Catton and Van Olm too.
Oh yeah.
So again, a championship team is not one or two lines. A championship team is all four lines and all three lines of defense kind of contributing together and playing as a
Mm-hmm.
team. And I think that we are on a great way or a great start to going to that area.
Oh, me too.
I love seeing that stuff, man. It's so refreshing watching these guys play as opposed to last season.
And the season before.
Yeah, I mean, and the season before.
And the season before. How far back do we want to go?
Oh man. I'm gonna go look real quick on the WHL Twitter page really quick here and see if there's been any more crazy trades announced. But see if they announced that Caden Price one yet. Nope, they have not. That's about all I got, I think, Cappy.
Well, another good pod. Lots to talk about.
Big road trip coming up.
What's that?
Big road trip coming up
Big
this
road
weekend.
Trip coming up. I'll be curious to see how we look against Everett on Friday.
Yeah, Everett hopefully getting Burke back in the lineup. He should be back. I think he's probably already back or on his way back now. But
yeah.
Friday in Everett, and then Saturday we're back down in Wenatchee.
And this is something I don't say very often about this team this year because it's different, but I've said it about past years before. I'm always looking forward to watching good teams play against Spokane. I'm actually looking forward to watching Everett play.
Yeah,
they're the cream of the crop right now.
Definitely. And the difference with this Chiefs team as opposed to last year's team with, watching the good teams come in and play, it's nice knowing that we're going to play these teams and knowing that we're not necessarily going to get shit on.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're seeing two good teams play, not
just
one.
It's like it's going to be a good game and not just,
yes.
One-sided.
Yes.
And obviously I'm a huge Chiefs fan, but I'm a hockey fan too. I like watching good hockey.
Me too.
And so, yeah, again, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't played Everett at home yet this season. I'm really looking forward to watching them because I really want to see Landon DuPont.
Me too.
But I think going to play in Everett, or the top two teams in the WHL right now, with how our last game against them was, winning 4-3 in a shootout, I think it's going to be another great, close, tightly contested game.
Yeah, it's almost too bad it's not a Wednesday night. It can't be the game of the week on the YouTube channel for the WHL.
I know, no kidding.
One and two playing against each other.
I think at some point that's going to be kind of a marquee thing if it stays where they are in the standings.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got Friday night against the Silvertips, and then Saturday back in Wenatchee against the Wild, and then big game up in Kelowna on Wednesday the 15th, before coming back for a 5-game homestand starting the 17th against Prince George Cougars.
Nice.
We have a tough schedule in that homestand. We have PG, and then we have Lethbridge, one of the top teams in the Central. Yep. And then the Wednesday following, we play Everett at home, first game against the Tips in the arena this year. And then we play Medicine Hat after that. So it's going to be a stretch of 4 or 5 pretty good games to watch, I think, between some of the top teams in the WHL.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So, yeah, that's about all I got, I think.
All right.
Kind of see where we stand after this weekend.
Sounds good.
Till next week.
As always,
go Chiefs, go.
Go Chiefs, go.